Hey YouTube, I'm back and we are doing our updated tier 9 4-player co-op bugs stratagem tier list. All right, starting off with the Gatling Barrage. No real changes here, unfortunately. I still feel like it needs to have a little bit more of a duration before I would give it, or more pen before I give it higher marks. I want to say it hasn't really changed. It's in that B, C area, maybe like B minus, C plus. I think you can definitely rotate this around. I like that as a short cooldown, but it needs more oomph. We're going to sit it in B minus for now. Orbital Airburst, I still think this is one of my favorite satisfying ones to use. It's great for bug missions in general because you can throw it on a bug breach or in front of a bug breach and it slays. It's also really good for those egg missions. Highly recommend. Can't really put it higher though because it's not great at dealing with armored enemies in particular. It can take out chargers, but it's not a super reliable weapon for that. 120mm and 380mm barrages. These are some interesting ones. They've received a lot of changes recently, especially with the ship upgrade. And also, obviously, the ones that came last month when they gave them a tighter spread and longer duration and so on and so forth. And recently, Cash Crop, great YouTuber, he did an awesome video. Quick plug for him. He did an awesome video on showing that the 120 and the 380 actually have set patterns. And the set pattern changes on the number of stratagems used in that particular mission. So you can, in fact, learn the pattern in which these will drop. Not entirely useful, but interesting to know that they're not fully random. Now, that being said, I want to put the 120 in that B plus area, and the 380 is going to go A minus. I've been really impressed with using it. Although it has a very long cooldown, it can be very effective at times. I'm going to put a lot of emphasis on at times. I do still wish it had a shorter cooldown, but I think we're getting to that point where the 380 is in a relatively good spot that you can take this and you can use it versus bug breaches or nests and stuff like that. And it does do a considerable amount of work versus those bugs. So been very impressed with how the stratagem is changing over time. 120 still has a little bit of a problem with larger targets because it's a smaller explosion, but happy overall. I gotta say, I am not a huge fan of the walking barrage, and it is not received as much love as its other two. I can see its purpose of a long line of bugs walking towards you, throwing that down and potentially hitting quite accurately at those bugs, but I feel like I would much rather bring a 380 or a 120 in those situations. Same cooldown, but I can get more out of a 380 because at least that area is going to get absolutely pummeled, whereas the walking barrage is moving away from me and it needs to be a very long line of bugs or a very distant object or enemy that I'm aiming for. So can't say I love it too much. Orbital Laser, I think, is an A tier stratagem. It definitely falls short on those heavy enemies still, and obviously only has 3 uses on a long cooldown. But if you manage to get a situation where there's very few heavy enemies, it absolutely slays, and it's hard for it to fuck up necessarily. You can throw it at a Shrieker Den, it'll kill all 3 of the Shriekers. It can, in fact, kill a Bile Titan or a Charger or multiple of them, but you kind of have to assist it, so I can't really recommend putting it any higher. Orbital Railgun, I still think deserves to be in an S minus territory. Maybe even a little bit more so now that the Quasar has seen some tuning, the 5 extra seconds of cooldown. It's a great pairing with other support weapons because a lot of the time, I'd say the vast majority, maybe 90% of the time, all you have to do is blow up the stomach on a Bile Titan, throw this, it dies. Gas, okay. For these next ones that are damage dot related, I'm going to place them according to assuming that it is fixed or you are host. They have said to us that the dot damage is going to be fixed in the next major patch coming in May, so maybe mid-May, late May. So please be in mind that if you are not host, gas is far less lethal and less effective. But damage over time does affect enemies, some bug enemies, even if you're not host, such as warriors, hunters, brood commanders, and hive guardians. They all take fire damage and gas damage over time, even if you're not host. So it's pretty good even in its non-host form, but I'm going to rank it based on its host form. I do like that it's on a short cooldown. I don't like that it's a small area, and I don't like that it takes so long to kill some enemies. It takes up a stratagem slot that I feel like I could take something more useful, especially when you're comparing it to Napalm, which received 2 big buffs as far as the new ship upgrades. So it's middle B, B+. It's decent, and it can close a bug hole in a pinch, but I can't say I absolutely love it. It needs to have something else going for it that Napalm really doesn't have. Precision Strike has had a little bit of a rough go as of late. Unfortunately, with the Bile Titan changes that you cannot stun them anymore, I can't put the Orbital Precision any higher than like a B+, A- tier. It's nice. It's a backup if you don't have the 500 kg or don't like the 500 kg. Fairly short cooldown, and it can kill Bile Titans and Chargers relatively easily, but you just need to either stun the Chargers or Matador the Bile Titans into, you know, doing the appropriate thing to keep them in place. So, A-. Orbital Smoke, I can't recommend for bugs. This would be something that it would be more interesting if they either gave it a buff, like it has better coverage. I find there's a lot of holes in it. Or it's like a C- if you're doing some particular missions with like some civilians. I can see an absolute niche there. Some people say that, but in my own opinion, I would rather bring something that kills the bugs rather than obscures the bugs in those situations. So it's kind of a hard pass for me. Orbital EMS is going to be a middle B, maybe B-. Recently, this did see a change. You can no longer stun Bile Titans if it direct impacts it. You just can't stun Bile Titans anymore. So it's that same awkward spot of, you know, I would rather take the EMS Sentry over this. So it's luckily it's on like a short cooldown. You can call it in pretty fast, but I don't necessarily recommend it. It's okay, but it's not great. Strafing Run, I have a hard time saying whether it's C or needs a buff badly. I would love to see this be like an A10 Warhog still. Give it heavy pen and the same kind of mechanic, but like let me use it against Bile Titans and Chargers to kill it. I think it would be an insanely fun gameplay combo if you're throwing that basically at your feet and then the A10 comes in. Super cool. Give it heavy pen. Keep it everything else the same, just get it a heavy pen, and maybe you can like one-shot a Charger if it hits well. That'd be so cool. So fucking cool. So I'm gonna keep it in C for now. Eagle Airstrike, I don't think anyone's surprised that I'm putting it up here. It's just insane. It's your Swiss Army knife. It can kill Bile Titans if it hits well, Chargers, add clear very effectively, kills Bug Nest, kills Shrieker Nest, it literally does everything you want it to do. It's so good. And it's on a short cooldown, and it's such high uptime. Clusters, we're still putting an S tier. It absolutely kills all chaff, but it also kills your teammates. So keep that in mind. I'm probably going to keep it closer to S- because of that. You know, it has a lot of team kill potential, but, you know, both the Eagle Airstrike and the Cluster Bombs received a buff technically recently. They got even more effective. They deal with more things more effectively. It's hard for me not to keep them both in S tier. A nice glow up is the Napalm Strike. I'm going to put this in A middle. It received 2 buffs. It got more fire damage from one ship module, and it got another additional like napalm explosion, like another canister. So it actually has even more usage and more spread, which is awesome. Once this receives the like dot damage fix buff or bug fix, oh my god, I think a lot of people will start bringing this instead of like their cluster bombs. It's quite strong. It's quite strong. I would almost say maybe this could be even higher in the future. Eagle Smoke, it's C. It has better coverage and you can use it more often than the Orbital. So I'm going to put the Eagle Smoke somewhere in C tier. Don't necessarily recommend Smoke. Same kind of thing, but you know. 110mm rocket pods, I still think is like a middle A somewhere. I think it's debatable on how useful it is. It can deal with Bile Titans and can deal with Chargers. You technically could use it against Bile Spewers or use it for Shrieker Nests and stuff like that. It does target Shrieker Nests and kill them. But middle A, It has mostly a consistency issue. I would have hoped that you got like an extra salvo when we got the ship upgrade for, you know, an extra like bomb in the Eagle, but still a solid pick, but there are better for dealing with those targets. 500 kg, still a fantastic Bile Titan and Charger kill, especially if you bring some stun grenades. I see a lot of people discussing that is an overrated stratagem, but I just believe it has very much a skill curve to it. When you first unlock it, you think it's this AoE weapon and it does a massive burst of damage, and you'll go into this phase where you just absolutely hate on it and you don't like it because you don't understand why it exists. But then you'll eventually come out the other side and you'll realize that it is by far the best Bile Titan stratagem killing weapon in the game, especially when you get good at matadoring and keeping a Bile Titan in front of you. And if you place it well, right below their head / their main body, not too far to the back, no too far forward, it just one-shots them. So as you get better with the stratagem, it pays in full back to you. It's really good, short cooldown. You basically, like if you have 2 or so people running these and they're good at placing them for Bile Titans really aren't a problem as much. So the Quasar people can utilize their Quasar shots for chargers and other things. It's insane. If you want to make this more of a consistent one-shot, take out the stomach of the Bile Titan, then Matador it, and then take it out. It's really strong. Highly recommend. Okay. HMG emplacement, I gotta say, it's still like a B- C+. I understand where it could be useful in those defensive missions, but you basically gotta ask your teammates to protect you, because a charger can come out of left field and just like ruin your day very easily. Might be being too kind to this. I think a big fix would have either been to give it some kind of like ability to at least take one hit from a charger, or just let you turn faster so you don't feel as vulnerable. It's fun to use. It's very fun to use, but unfortunately, because of how vulnerable you are, I can't put it very high. All right. Shield gen. I think the shield gen is not very useful. I understand that it's niche, and that's kind of where I put the C tier, is that it's either not very good or there's a niche somewhere in there that it can scratch. I understand that you can bait a Bile Titan in and then it pukes on the shield and it kills itself. That's cool, but it's not super easy and consistent to do all the time, especially when you're playing 4-player co-op, which this tier list is for. Someone might shoot the stomach and then all of a sudden you can't puke anymore. So your strategy is thrown out the window. It's nice for using the flamethrower because the chargers will run into it, stun themselves, and then you have a really easy time with the flamethrower. So I can see the pairing there. But I think for the vast majority of players and in situations, it is not that useful. Going into the Tesla Tower, I'm going to give this a middle B. It did receive a little bit of a buff with the stratagems, and I like that. But the more I play, the more I realize that I'd rather just bring another stratagem. Every once in a while, you'll find a mission where it's going to be like A or S tier, you know, like the defense missions, and you put it in a really good spot, it fucking slays out. But in the vast majority of situations, I believe it's like a B+. It's very hard to find a spot where a charger won't immediately kill it, or a situation where it won't screw over your teammates, or a situation where a Bile Titan just doesn't come out and just runs at it and kills it. They recently gave it more health, but that didn't affect how chargers interact with it. So I'm gonna give it middle B+. My biggest thing would be like if it could survive like maybe a puke from a Bile Titan and then a melee, or like a charger slam and it like hits its head and it stuns for a second, all of a sudden it would be way more usable in bug tier 9 missions. But without that, it's hard for me to put any higher. Mines in general, I'm gonna put it needs a buff. I know there's some mine enjoyers out there, but the opportunity cost is just too high. It's a 3-minute cooldown, and yes, it kills a decent amount of bugs, but it also kills a decent amount of your teammates, unless you're being insanely proactive about making sure that they don't run into your minefield, or it's not like a snow planet and it's below the snow or sand. The amount of times I have died to a mine that I could not see, and I looked back on the VOD and I didn't see the mine even still, is plentiful. So giving these a shorter cooldown would be awesome. Machine gun, I don't really know why this exists still. They still need to give it more of an identity. It's just a worse version of the Gatling turret still. They did give it a little bit more health. Apparently it had less health. I believe that was in the patch notes. But it's still like C/needs a buff badly. Like it's the Gatling turret, but just less ammo and less lethal. Gatling is a solid B, A minus, somewhere in that tier. It is extremely good at killing chaff and up to chargers. I do recommend it. It is strong. It is a fun weapon to use. I just wish it was a little bit more useful as a sentry versus charges and battle titans. It doesn't really do anything either. It just bounces off. Mortars are hard for bugs because I understand that they are good at killing, but they're also not amazing at killing bugs because a lot of the time the bug will have already moved by the time the mortar comes out. Yes, you need to then take EMS mortar to pair with it. So it's 2 stratagems to make this thing effective in more situations. I definitely see the usage of it go up in defense missions, which it's fairly useful for, but because I can't really see it being used in more situations, I can't give it a huge glowing remarks. It's not amazing versus charges, it's not amazing versus battle titans. Also, because of the armored roof on both of them, the armored shell, it doesn't do that much damage to them. It needs a lot of mortars to hit it. So in the defensive missions, the 20-minute one, the new ICBM one, I've seen a lot of people doing like double mortars across the entire team, and it does do pretty effective. It's effective, but you just got to make sure if a bug gets anywhere close to you in that mission, if you have that many mortars, you bolt backwards. Like, you will die immediately. Everybody on the team has to be okay with you using mortars, and you have to be communicating when mortars are up and being used. And for that reason, I feel like I can't really put it higher because there's just so many stipulations on making it amazing. We're going to put autocannon right middle A plus area. It's a fantastic turret. Unfortunately, it suffers from a lot of the things the turrets have is they have a really high aggro threat table still. So they have a little bit of trouble dealing with chargers or battle titans that just want to rush them down. And since you can't stun battle titans anymore, the turrets have definitely seen a little bit, of a dip because, a battle titan might just run up to it and kill it immediately. Luckily, it can stagger it a fair bit, but, it still runs into that issue. Rocket Sentry is like an A minus. I've been seeing a lot of people bring it for the 20-minute defend missions. What's nice about the Rocket Sentry is although it has lower DPS, it at least has very high ammo in reserve. It actually reloads its rocket pods for a second pod. So it has very high uptime in that regard. So it's very good if you can place it so it's only shooting battle titans. Like if you get an angle where it can't see any of the chaff, but it can see the battle titans over the wall, it's really good in those situations because it'll just only mag dump on battle titans. I think it's good for those situations. So EMS mortar, I think is like a solid A or S minus A plus. It's not always useful because unfortunately, because chaff are so fast, the EMS mortar might miss what its intended hit is. But if you can throw this out fast, it can stun a lot of that bug breach coming out. Won't stun the battle titans anymore, but it'll stun a lot of that bug breach. And then on defense missions, it's very useful. I see a lot of teams that just bring EMS mortar and they don't bring the lethal mortar, and they just utilize the EMS mortar as CC on demand, which is really cool. Okay, the 30% nerf to the laser guard dog. I don't think it's S tier anymore. It's still extremely good, but they've definitely hit it hard enough where it is lower. I still think you're going to see a lot of people using it, and for the people that were absolutely hating on this thing in my YouTube comment section because it kills them or their teammates more, you might like it more now. Although it's not killing as many bugs efficiently as it was, it still has the same fire time, and it just has incredible uptime versus the other guard dog. It will kill you less and it'll kill your teammates less. It's a nerf, but also makes it easier to use. I'm gonna put it A/ middle A. It got a buff, but I am extremely tempted to put the normal guard dog in needs a buff bad. After the patch, I used it for 2 games, and I was just laughing at how pathetic it was for bugs and bots. The amount of times it just misses all of its shots, and all of the shots bounce off a Devastator because it's not hitting its crit spot eye, or the amount of times it like mag dumps on one scavenger for some reason. Like it uses the entire magazine to kill one scavenger. I don't know why. Sometimes it just like one taps a bunch, and other times it just like the scavenger gets hit and then it rolls away and it's still shooting at it. I don't get it. Give this thing medium pen and give it a better magazine / a faster reload speed, and we'll talk about putting it a lot higher. But until it has medium pen, I don't understand why you would take this thing over the laser guard dog. Yeah, it does like more DPS, but like it spends so much time reloading that the DPS just drops down so fast because it spends so much time on your back. Like, I don't know, man. I'm still gonna put it in needs a buff. Like, I don't know what the devs are thinking. Just give a medium pen or a larger magazine, and it would be better immediately. It would be way more useful in bugs and bots. I don't know. Shield gen, I still think is like an S minus. And I know a lot of people out there are moving away from using the shield generator because as you get better at the game, you feel like you don't need it as much, and it's absolutely the case. But for people that are getting into Helldive, and a lot of people that are going to watch these videos, you're probably getting into Helldive for the first time, and you're gonna get a lot of deaths, right? You're gonna be like being attacked from so many different angles, so many more charges and battle titans and so on and so forth. This will give you more breathing room to learn the difficulty, but I would suggest weaning off of it over time because it's not necessary for Helldive bot or bugs. You will die sometimes, and the shield would have prevented that, but dying's part of the game. It's okay to die, and you are a weapon when you come back in. You can kill a battle titan, right, for your team when you get respawned. It's not a huge deal. I still use it from time to time on blitz missions if I'm going like deep into nests and I want to just speed run through, but I definitely see myself using it less and less as I get more experience in the game. So still an S tier stratagem. It's insanely good for preventing slows and knockbacks and stalkers from especially sneaking up on you, especially now that they are basically invisible until they leap out, which is crazy. I love the change, by the way. All right, I'm going to put the resupply backpack probably B+. It's just a good stratagem. By itself, it's not, you know, anything too special. And now that, especially now that your normal resupplies are better than the resupplies that this thing gives, but I love pairing it with like flamethrower for extra stims. I love pairing it with AMR for just a bunch of extra mags and stims and grenades. But if like, it's just incredibly useful. I think it's just an awesome stratagem. If you're willing to take it, you can help out your team. But you know, are you gonna like have 3 of them on your team? No, you're gonna bring maybe 1. And that person might just all use it on themselves to spam grenades and stims, or they might resupply your teammates a little bit, or you're using it specifically for like the grenade launcher. It pairs really well for with the grenade launcher, for instance. So I'm gonna put a B+. I don't think it deserves to be anywhere different. I don't think it's gone down because of the ship upgrade, but it's very strong. Do I really need to explain why the ballistic shield is bad for bugs? I think we all understand. Even when it's on your back, the bugs don't hit the shield, they just hit you. There's no point in this thing other than for ball spears, but even still, like, I wouldn't recommend using this for ball spears because there's no one-handed medium pen weapon other than the senator. And yeah, it's gotten better with the reload, but you're not killing a lot of ball spears with this, not on tier 9. Nah. Jetpack, we're gonna put right next to the resupply. I know there's a lot of jetpack enjoyers out there that love this thing and probably would say, what are you doing, streamer? Put it in A, put it in S. It's awesome. You just got to understand that, like, it's situational and you have to utilize it very effectively. And some maps utilize this way less, right? Because there's some maps that have way less things to jump up on. Yes, you can do some cool, like, parkour and jumping over bugs, which is awesome. It's very flashy. It's cool. But it's like, would I rather have that or personal shield or that or a laser guard dog? I gotta pick the other two when it comes to this kind of stuff. I'd rather the hunters just die than me have to like jump over them. Maybe if they let me aim a little bit more while in the sky or a lower cooldown, I would definitely start, you know, wanting to put it higher. The mech, I'm gonna put like middle B area until they can fix the rocket pod issue. I can't put it any higher. The rocket pods right now have no left and right movement, so they don't align with your crosshair until much farther into their flight. You can kind of rectify this by changing your shoulder in the mech. You can do that to make it more accurate to where you're aiming, but they really just need to rework this. It's still incredibly good if you can learn that, but like, the rockets were awesome because they were very accurate before and they could 2-tap Bile Titans. Now it's much harder to 2-tap those Bile Titans and kill those Chargers in general. The Gatling gun is still awesome and it has that rotation, so it doesn't have the problem. But yeah, the rocket pod definitely needs to see a little bit of a change before I put it any higher again. MG43, I think, is It's like a B tier, B minus. It's got medium pens, so for all those bile spewers, and in general, I do like using it from time to time, especially with the Eruptor. The Eruptor has changed how I look at a lot of the machine guns. I don't love using it. I would feel like I'd rather use other support weapons, like the arc thrower, for instance, in a lot of situations. Or the flamethrower, or another weapon system that does very similar things. Medium pen is more than enough, but I do hope that it gets a little bit more love in the future. Maybe more magazines in reserve, more ammunition in magazine. I'm not sure exactly what I would do, but it does need a little bit of love here or there. I am enjoying it more with the Eruptor, because luckily the Eruptor exists, so a lot of the downsides of this are nullified, but it still has quite a few downsides. Going to the AMR, I did previously put it a lot lower, but as I've used it more with the Eruptor, I think, especially with the new TCS missions where we're going in and there's a lot of bile spewers, I have been enjoying the AMR a lot more in bugs. I still don't recommend it. I think there are better support weapons out there, but being able to dispatch bile spewers with good accuracy, 1 to 2 shots to the head, or like one-shotting brood commanders, being able to take out shrieker dens on the other side of the map. It's about 3 mags. That's a lot per shrieker den, or spore spears now, because they have the same health and armor of shrieker dens. But what I've been doing is I've been taking this and the supply backpack, and I basically have this as an unlimited ammo. I have unlimited stims and unlimited nades. It's really good for that. It takes about 1 mag to take out a charger's butt, but you know, since you have so many stun nades, you can really utilize the AMR a lot more. It's not an amazing support weapon by any means, but I can definitely see people loving it. All right. For the Stalwart enjoyers out there, with the Eruptor being added to the game, I will say I have enjoyed the Stalwart more, and the Stalwart now does a lot better versus brood commanders, which it used to do a lot worse. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but a lot of people are saying that it has the same damage characteristics of a Liberator, so it makes sense in that regard. So the Stalwart has seen a little bit of an increase in usage for both me and a lot of players. Pair this with the Eruptor, you can take out Bug Nest, you can take out Spewers, and then you have this as like your primary weapon, and you have your Eruptor as your support weapon. You kind of just swap the roles. Still not going to put it like top marks, because I think there's too many primary weapons that do what the Stalwart does. The Incendiary Breaker is literally the king of tier 1 ads. It's not the Stalwart. Just spray the Incendiary Breaker, even on non-host, and all the hunters on your screen are dead. They're insane. Even with that small burning decrease, you just have to hit 1 more pellet, 2 more pellets to kill the hunter. So, yeah. I can't give it top marks just yet. EAT is still a fantastic option for your anti-tank. Especially when pairing it with other support weapons. If you want to bring like an AMR, but still have some way to kill chargers easier than going for the butt, you have the AT. If you want to use the arc thrower, bring the AT. If you're doing those bug defense missions and you have the Quasar and you feel like you're not coming back fast enough, you have the AT. You can just litter the defense mission with tons of EATs, fire your Quasar, go pick up some EATs, shoot them, go back to the Quasar, shoot it. You know what I mean? Kind of swap back and forth. It's fun. The RECOILESS has seen a little bit of a glow up. They fixed the reload bug. You used to sometimes have to do a double reload and consume an extra ammo brick in the back. It has seen a buff to its reload speed. You can now do an animation cancel to cancel it about a second early. So just check the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. When the shell gets colored in, you can animation cancel with your Stratagem window or diving. You can make that reload quite a bit faster. Obviously, you still have the team reload, but until you can do the team reload with you wearing the backpack and having the weapon and someone walking up to you, I can't really put it higher than B+. Quasar and EAT still exist, and I believe they are better overall anti-tank weapons. Going into the autocannon, I still think it's an A+ weapon for bugs. It hasn't really changed. It's great for shrieker dens. It can deal with chargers. It can deal with brood commanders. It's okay at ad clear. It's good at bug nests. It's kind of like your Swiss Army knife. It can't kill Bile Titans very effectively, but you can in fact do it if you go underneath them or at a distance, shooting up into their butt or shooting into their cracked shoulder or whatnot. Still a fantastic support weapon. Wouldn't change it. It's good. Flamethrower, I'm going to assume that the dot damage has been fixed, but even without it, it's still very effective. Even on non-host, it's like a middle A. Unfortunately, burning still hurts so freaking much, and until they can give us some burn resistant armor, I can't really put it higher. It doesn't really have much range. You're doing so much self damage, and it does actually have area denial to you and your teammates as well. If you set a large area on fire, you can't really go there unless you want to use a stim. Very good, but it suffers from that. HMG has become more usable in my opinion. I think I'm going to put it along with the other ones. Although it's more useful and it can take out trigger dens and spore blooms at a distance, it's about 1 meg per den. It's just, unfortunately, it feels unwieldy, and it is just so much recoil and so slow that it's hard to use in all situations. Definitely, like if you're using in bugs, I recommend like turning down the fire rate and then wearing the recoil resistant armor, and then using in third person will help you not get snuck up on as much. Doesn't really matter where you put these. I think they're all fairly good. Okay, going into the air burst. So I've been using this a lot since they've changed it and fixed it. I've been having a hard time wanting to place it higher. I know it's very satisfying when you get an awesome kill and you get like 30 kills and it feels like you have a cluster bomb in your hand. But it's also really easy to kill yourself because one hunter can jump in front of your shot and it can pre-detonate before it goes off. I feel like I want it to be buffed in some way for bug missions in particular. I wish it was more consistent at killing chargers, dealing more damage to ball titans, killing spore blooms at a distance, killing shrieker dens at a distance. I think it's C tier. I think it's incredibly fun, and I'd rather use this in bot missions. I'll mention in the bot tier list that it is better in bots, but for bugs, I gotta put it near C tier. It needs some love. Okay, for another one that got changed is the railgun. It did receive quite a big difference in damage versus chargers. It's now 3 unsafe railgun shots to the head, about 70% of that shot. So once you hear the click for going over the safe mode, wait about half a second to a second and then release. 3 shots to the head or 2 to the leg and break the armor off, and then you just primer it down. Quite effective. Also good versus spewers. You can one-shot headshot them. I believe it can be a safe mode or just a little bit above to one-shot them in the head. Quite effective for that. One-shots brood commanders. Unfortunately, don't use it versus a bile titan unless you know it's incredibly weak, like it's already bleeding. It takes way too many shots to kill a bile titan reliably by yourself. In my testing, it was like between 16 and 19 shots unsafe mode. Like, I don't recommend that. I really hope that they bring it back versus bile titans to the way it used to be on PC before the PS5 host bug was a thing. For those who don't know, you were doing bonus damage with the railgun and you were 1-2 shotting if you had a PS5 host. On PC host, it was always about 8 to 10 shots or so, depending on the percentage of the unsafe. I do hope they bring it back down to 10. I think 10 is somewhat reasonable. It's not great, but at least it puts it more on par with like other support weapons that are killing bile titans, right? Like, you know, in a pinch, an autocannon can kill a bile titan. You go underneath to shoot its butt. But in a pinch, the railgun, I wouldn't waste the time. I would not waste the time to shoot its head. It's a waste of ammo. It's a waste of your time. You're better off just running to your teammates and hopefully they have something. Grenade launcher, I think, is like a B+, A-. My main problem with the grenade launcher is its supply problem. It has not much reserves, so I feel like I need to take it with the supply backpack. I'm putting it next to the supply backpack on purpose because these two are awesome as a combo, but by itself, it just lacks ammo reserves. It takes too many shots to do a lot of things. So you're constantly searching for more ammo, but you don't have to when you have the supply backpack. Spear, I'm still, this is a hard one. I'm going to, okay. The developers have said that in the next major patch, they're going to fix the tracking. If they do in fact fix the tracking in the next patch, I'm going to put the spear in middle A. It's really good versus bile titans. It's pretty good versus chargers. And with the new ammo resupply on getting all your ammo back, or just like the new tiered reload, it's in a really good spot. Like, honestly, it could be even higher, maybe like A+. I don't think I'd quite put it into S just because it suffers from like problems against chargers. If a charger is just too close to you, which a lot of the time they will be too close to you, you can't use it against them. Bile Titans, you need to learn how to get that headshot for the reliable one shot, because if it's not getting that headshot, it takes a long time to kill it, longer than the Quasar, for instance, because you have to like shoot it, make sure the track goes off, hit it, reload, make sure you don't get interrupted while reloading, then get another shot off while it's dealing with you. So it's a lot to ask for, right? While you compare it to the Quasar, which is still an S tier support weapon. Even after its nerf, it is by far the best support weapon versus chargers and Bile Titans. And then you bring some kind of primary / like backpack to deal with ads. It's still amazing. The extra 5 seconds can sometimes feel like a lot in the moment, but you know, hold your breath right now for 5 seconds and tell me that's a long time. It's still an incredibly good weapon, and the charge time and the unlimited ammo and the auto reloading just make it so good versus bugs. I can't put it any lower. It's so good still. Laser cannon for bugs is going to be like a middle B. It's definitely feeling better versus like general ad clear, but I've heard a lot of reports that it is taking longer to kill shrieker nests and spore blooms, and I believe that was that patch note of larger bodies take longer to kill with, because I didn't really notice that much of a change versus chargers, Bile Titans, factory striders, and so on and so forth. But I believe that change was mostly for spore spewers, spore spewer, and for shrieker nests. So it takes more of like I think a full radiator / a radiator and a bit to kill a shrieker nest at distance now. So keep that in mind. But I mean, it's getting better as time goes on, right? It's better for spewers. It's better for like brood commanders. It's better for hunters. That little damage increase does make a difference, and I have noticed it. I think it still needs some more love before I put it anywhere near the A section. All right, going with Arc Thrower, I think it deserves to be right next to the autocannon. It is a strong weapon. Although it saw its nerfs, it also got a buff with the extra bounce strip module. It's strong. It's a very strong weapon. It has inconsistency issues, but I believe if you use it enough, you'll start to learn when you can and can't use it due to terrain, due to bodies being in your way. And you will play differently when you start to understand the line of sight mechanic and how it works. It's very good. Very good. And for those who love it, absolutely love it. And pair this with like an EAT, and you'll feel like you can take on literally everything in the game. It's awesome. I highly recommend it with the Eruptor and EAT combo, and you can literally take on everything. You got ad clear, you got bug breaches, you got AT for Bile Titans. You can take out chargers with this, 6 shots to the head. You know, it's an easier kill on a charger than the autocannon is overall. Like, honestly, I should probably do that. Although it can't take out shrieker dens and spore blooms at distance, you got the EATs at a distance, you know? So really strong stratagem for ad clear and taking out chargers, taking out bile spewers. So I highly recommend. Okay, YouTube. Do let me know what you think of my new and updated tier list. I will be doing these maybe monthly, maybe bi-monthly, seeing as they do make changes over time, adding new ship modules, adding new stratagems. I'd love to know what you guys think of it. My opinion has been changing over time as I use different things at different times. You know, if you want to come discuss it with me, I'm live every day, basically, on Twitch. Do drop by. It's linked down below. Or just drop a comment on the stream. I do go through them quite a bit, and I'm talking to you guys, and I'd love to hear your impressions of them. And, you know, maybe I'm utilizing or underutilizing something. Do let me know. Like, what are you using? Just do keep in mind that we don't have a limited stratagems, and opportunity cost is important. When you take something, it means you can't take another stratagem in its place. You only got 4, right? So you got to keep that in mind when we're talking about these. Some people absolutely might love mines, but you got to see that it's a 3-minute cooldown to kill not that many enemies and its potential hazard to you and your teammates. So keep that in mind before telling me, streamer, you're dumb. Mines are awesome. You know, I'm sure in a vacuum and comparing to no other stratagems, they are quite good for you, and you can utilize them quite effectively. This is a tier 9 Helldive tier list. Thanks, YouTube. Please consider dropping a like, Discord link down below, a like, comment, subscribe. Really enjoy doing these and interacting with you guys. Bye, everybody.